Hey, with your evening story channel, I post new interesting stories every day. Subscribe and click the bell to not miss it. Camille got married late at the age of 35. Before that, she studied at the Institute. She was in no hurry to get married, like the rest of her classmates. Most of them got married before graduation. Camille didn't have much luck with jobs after college. She couldn't get a job in her specialty. But after 6 years, she finally got her dream job. When you do what you love, it's a blessing. You want to go to work. The day goes by quickly, and on weekends I even miss my job. She shared her impressions with her friend Emily. Well, you say that too, friend. I, for example, do not want to drag myself to work and back to work at all. I go at hard labor. I can't wait. I can't wait to go home. I don't want to see you there. I'm sick of all those sad faces. Emily complained to me. Emily, this is because you're working in the wrong place and you're not interested in your work. You need a change of career. You need to think about it. Camille urged her. Emily had already been married, divorced, and remarried to a former classmate. But Camille was still single, and a new specialist, Stephen, came to their office. He quickly took a shine to Camille, and she, by the way, took an interest in him. And the romance began, and slowly but surely moved to a higher level. And now they're husband and wife. A son was born. Camille was very happy. She is married, she loves, and is loved, and has a son. And for every mom, her son is the best child in the world. Stephen helped his wife at first, but as time went on, his fervor waned. He didn't change for the better. Stephen loved himself and thought everyone should love him. That's how his mother raised him. But Camille realized this later. Camille had long been ready for a family relationship and was happy to finally have a family. I have a husband and a son, but I was waiting for them. When Camille was 28 years old, her parents died. The two of them were driving their car back from a summer cottage on a fall evening. Her father lost control of his car and drove at full speed into a truck parked on the side of the road. They both died on the spot. Her grandmother, the father's mother, lived with her parents. Her grandmother loved her granddaughter. She was the only daughter in the family, so there was everything for her. After the death of her parents, Camille became even more attached to her elderly grandmother, and the grandmother could not be without her granddaughter. In essence, it was just the two of them. Two relatives. Camille lived in her parents' apartment with her old grandmother. Stephen came to live with her after the wedding. The apartment was old, an old house, so Camille, even before the wedding, wanted to sell the apartment and buy a new building with a good layout. She had money and a decent amount of money left from her parents. The grandmother had savings for her granddaughter. Stephen did not like living with Grandma in the same apartment. He was rude to her. Of course, when she couldn't hear, Camille sometimes reprimanded his wife. "Why is it that your grandmother lives with us? Let her buy herself a one-bedroom. She has old money anyway. They all save money." "I know they do." "Stephen, why are you talking about my grandmother like that? She's old and it's hard for her to live alone, especially since she's lived with my parents most of the time. Don't start talking like that. Grandma will live with me." Grandma soon fell ill and died very quickly. Camille was upset. It was the only person she had left. And now it was just her husband and her son. Her husband and mother-in-law said after the funeral, "Why are you so sad? Baby, Grandma was old. She should have gone there a long time ago, especially if she left you money. Be happy." That's when Camille realized that Stephen and her mother were not who they said they were. But unfortunately, her mother-in-law didn't react. After the funeral, I went through the apartment and immediately laid my eyes on my grandmother's refrigerator and bed. "Baby, I need a small refrigerator like this for the cottage. And a crib too. Can I also have this cabinet and a dresser with a TV? I'd like to go to my grandmother's datitude, and I don't need all this. We're going to buy a new apartment with Stephen anyway." So Camille gave her mother-in-law everything she wanted, and she quickly moved it all to her cottage. Stephen had no money. Camille had known that from the beginning of their life together. He had been married twice before Camille and was paying alimony. The mother-in-law turned out to be an accommodating woman. She was glad she had gotten her hands on such a modest, well-mannered daughter-in-law with an apartment and money. True, she did not know how much money Camille had, but she guessed that if she was going to buy a 3-room apartment in a new building, there was money there. Camille and Stephen started looking at apartments. She liked 3 options, but Stephen rejected them all. After all, it's far from the center, and this one needs to be finished. This one's close to the road. No, this one's big. It's too much to pay in utilities. After all, Camille resented Stephen. Why would he like anything? After all, it's a nice apartment, modern layout, and the kitchens are big. I wonder which one you want. To be honest, we could live in the old apartment. We'll renovate it. Why do we have to buy a new apartment? We have a place to live, and there's plenty of room for our son. Let's use all this money to start a business, and we can buy an apartment later. You better give me that money. I'll get it all set up and we'll be self-employed. Camille was confused. Wait, Stephen, I have that money for a new apartment, and don't talk me into it. I'll buy the apartment anyway. Do you like it or not? At that time, her mother-in-law came to visit them, and when she heard that they were choosing an apartment, she suddenly said that she had completely different plans for Camille's money. My mother-in-law has another son. He is not married. He is 36 years old and does not work and lives on his mother's support. She loves him very much. In fact, she's like a chicken and egg with her sons. According to her mother-in-law's plan, Camille should sell the cottage and give the money to her husband, including the savings, the amount of which she didn't know, but she wanted to find out by all means. And the daughter-in-law kept quiet and kept it all secret. No, Stephen, you're wrong. We should still buy an apartment, but a smaller one. But put it in Stephen's name, because her apartment will be left to her little boy. Of course, the mother-in-law was very keen to get her hands on Camille's money. What about Camille? You're a family, and your husband is the head of the family. Give him the money, he'll take out a mortgage. You could use that money to start a Stephen business. Camille was outraged that her mother-in-law takes care of her 40-year-old son, but didn't even think about her grandson. And Camille was not as naive and stupid as her mother-in-law thought she was. And again, she declassified all the plans of her husband and mother-in-law, and they thought she had no relatives, no one to stand up for her. She's kind. She can be quickly persuaded and deceived. Where can she get that kind of money? We need it more than we do. Camille did her own thing. She bought an apartment she liked, drew up a prenuptial agreement, and offered it to her husband to sign. There was nothing left for him to do, and he signed it, gritting his teeth. He did not want to let his wife in with such money. After all, he himself received a small salary and also paid alimony for a child from his first marriage. But when his mother-in-law found out about it, despite Camille's presence, she was scandalized at her son. Stephen, I didn't realize you were so stupid and naive as to sign a prenup. It's like signing your own judgment. And if they kick you out, where are you going to go with your bare ass? You know, I don't have any money. I live on my pension. I got another kid. You even drive the car your wife bought you. Stephen tried to justify himself, but he couldn't drown out his mother. She screamed until she was tired herself. Camille had been in another room with her son the whole time, so she couldn't hear it all. Of course, the unpleasant residue remained, but she hid it in herself. They moved into a new apartment, and there wasn't much furniture in the apartment. Camille did not buy. She kept waiting for Stephen to buy, at least on credit. But as it turned out, credit is not even given to him because of debts. After that scandal, mother-in-law, as if nothing had happened, again came to visit them in their new apartment, looked at and said, "Why is it that you have not yet bought a kitchen? It's so empty and ugly. And why haven't you bought this?" To which Camille replied, "Well, let Stephen buy it on credit." "Why, Stephen? You bought the apartment yourself and you can furnish it. Should my son get a loan?" "Of course not. We'll leave him alone if he's got a bad credit history. He's in debt. The daughter-in-law said ironically, "What debts? My son has no debts. I gave him money. He paid it all off a long time ago. Come on, Stephen, why don't you say something? Tell your mother about your credit history. Camille, you're shameless. You're slandering my son. Stephen, why don't you say something? Mom, why are you here again? You've decided to start a scandal again. That wasn't enough for you. We live and live with our wife. What do you care? We'll buy the furniture. We'll buy it." For a long time, the mother-in-law blamed her daughter-in-law for everything. Finally, Camille couldn't stand it and pointed at the door. Not expecting such a turn from her daughter-in-law, she was at first taken aback, then insulted her and left, slamming the door. They never spoke to each other again. Stephen began to drink periodically, and when Camille asked him, "Why do you get drunk?" he said it was because he had no money. When he'd get drunk, he'd get nasty, claimed everything. Blamed her for all his failures, scandalized her, and even took a swing at her once. She tried not to listen to him, did her own things, or with her son, who was already in school. Emily's friend advised her to divorce him. "Camille, why do you put up with him? You're a self-sufficient woman, beautiful. What's he like? He's nothing. I'd rather live alone than put up with him. You know, Emily, I've been thinking about it myself, but I'm in my 40s. I'm going to be alone again. I've been alone too long. Of course, he's not very caring, and he's indifferent to his son. One day I was hospitalized with my son. He didn't come to see us until 3 days later. Then he had to make excuses for a week. But when he's sober and in a good mood, he's not a bad person. I want to ask him to move out. I know he won't want to. They'll give me 1,000 reasons, but I'm going to do it. That's enough, that's right. I'm finally hearing the right words from you. And let those words turn into action. I hope so, Camille. Can I help you? No, I don't need any. Emily, I'll do it myself. I was hoping to have another baby. I really want a baby. But now I realize I shouldn't have one. And the age, too. I'm scared to stay. Raising a baby on my own. No, you've made the right decision. You shouldn't have a baby with Stephen. He's a worthless father. You know that, don't you? And it's no big deal to live and raise kids alone. But to have to put up with his humiliation and insults for the rest of your life. That's scary. Yeah, Emily, I agree with you. And with Stephen, I'm very unhappy. So I've made up my mind now.